welcome back to Cossy Podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. It's just hours away before we play Manchester City, and the big question that we have not actually answered in 12 encounters with this City side is how do we beat Manchester City? How do we get the better of them? We tried in the Community Shield. It was a draw 1-1, but of course there will be no penalties in this game, and that means that Arsenal have to look at other ways to beat Manchester City other than penalties. We can't get a result, in my opinion. I don't think Manchester City are really, the real deal yet this campaign. They will get there, probably. They will become much better and much better and much better. But this season, they are beatable so far. So how do we beat Manchester City? There were a couple of things we did well in the Community Shield, and I thought Mikel Arteta really prepared the team very well defensively. We were very strong. We were very, very cautious. We were very comfortable as well when we were in possession. There were no sloppy passes. And one of the things I liked is we went man to man and we closed all spaces that Manchester City could actually exploit in that game. Now, it's going to be a little bit different. We don't have Julian Timber in this game. Partey is just coming back, so probably that's a major boost. And players like Aaron Ramsdale and Gabriel Martinelli are also not available for selection. So the big question is, what do we do? Do we go with a replica of what we did in the Community Shield, play players like Kai up top and, just go physical? Or do we change it a little bit and try to suit the needs of this game? It's a very different game. It's a very different fixture as compared to the Community Shield. Man City have played a couple of games this campaign. Their momentum will have become better. Their confidence is much better as well. And the new signings that they have actually brought in have also gotten some time to suit in. So Josko Gvardiol is now a much better centre-back in the system. And the likes of Jeremy Doku and Matthias Nunes are also kind of sitting in very, very well, right? So we're going to be looking at the key spaces and the key areas in this game and the key battles as well. This during the Community Shield, the game was won and lost on the wing. So the midfield cancelled itself out. I thought Odegaard and Rice and Partey were actually very, very good. And then I also thought the Manchester City midfield was very good. So in the end, what happened is Man City resorted to the wide areas, and you could see the goal came from Cole Palmer right on the, it was on the right-hand side, cutting inside and, scoring that kind of, a color. And then as well, Arsenal turned to set pieces. That's where we got our goal with Leandro Trossard again on the flank. So in the middle of the park, I still expect it to be congested. I still expect it to be a little bit difficult for both teams to exploit. It might be a game, once again, where the flanks are going to be important and where the wide areas are actually going to be important. Hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast as well. How do we beat Man City? I mean, talk to me in the comment box below. Which are the key players that we've got to stop in this Manchester City side if we are going to see victory, if you're going to win this game? Which players would you suggest Arsenal have to be cautious about and players we have to take out of the game? Now, let's start off with the key areas, and this is going to be very, very crucial. So I think the midfield has always been a key area for both managers, Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola. They love the midfield. They love using the midfield. They love being in the. They love playing with the midfield, and it's why most of the midfielders in both of these teams are actually quality and actually players that can play at a top level. So when you look at this space here between for the two sides, that is Arsenal and Man City, you have Rodri there. You have Calvin Phillips who's deputizing him. You have Kevin De Bruyne who's away, but you have the likes of Bernardo Silva, the likes of Matthias Nunes. You have so many quality players for Man City. And for Arsenal, you have Rice, you have Odegaard, you have Partey, you have Fabio Vieira. So it means that both managers really care about this part of the midfield, part of the pitch. They care about the midfield, and that is where much of our football actually flows. That is where much of our football literally is operated. Arsenal, much of their operations are in midfield, and Man City, much of their operations is in midfield. And that's where you see, whenever Man City are trying to overload, they overload as many areas as they can, but they overload the midfield more. You have the likes of Kyle Walker inverting into midfield. You have Rodri there. You have Matthias Nunes there, you have Kovacic, and then at times you have Phil Foden and Bernardo Silva. So they literally, and Pep Guardiola loves overloading the midfield because he knows when you control the midfield, you're literally controlling the most important parts of the game. With Arsenal and Mikel Arteta, what could I say? Declan Rice is a £105 million signing. That speaks to the style of the manager and how important the midfield is. But of course, Odegaard as well is one of those players that have actually caught the eye in the Premier League for the last two campaigns, this campaign and last campaign, obviously. And of course, you've got to think about that signing of Kai Havertz. Mikel is trying so hard to actually make it work. Again, it's another reason why Arsenal are not fluid, because the midfield is not complete yet. So the midfield is going to be a key area. We know that, at least on every single daily basis. It has always been a key area. But the other key areas, guys, are going to be the flanks. So you look at the key batters, and we'll get to the key batters. But think about the key batters on this flank, and then you think about the key batters on this flank. You think about the key batters on this flank and the key batters on this flank as well. So because there's a lot of quality between these two teams in midfield, we will have to resort to the flanks. We'll have to resort to the wide areas. And what you've actually seen, I don't know if you have actually noticed this, but Man City have done so much in terms of stopping football in the wide areas. And that's why you've seen Nathan Ake stroke Josko Gvardiol play at left back. And then you've seen Kyle Walker, the best, dribble resistant player at right back. And then he's played two centre backs in Diaz and Akanji, or Diaz and Stones, or Diaz and whoever he decides to play, actually, it doesn't really matter. So what is actually happening is Pep Guardiola knows that because he controls the midfield a lot, teams will be resorting to the wide areas. That is how you beat Man City. You resort to the wide areas, you drop those balls in behind. And what Pep has done, he's played four centre-backs, four players that are really good at defending, but also centre-backs that have got the sense of how to attack. It's the same thing with Arsenal. Ben White as a centre-back has shifted into a right back, just to allow Arsenal to have that extra defensive ability. We have also seen Alexander Zinchenko being covered a lot by Declan Rice, but also Gabriel Magalhaes shifting across to that left-hand side, and William Saliba becoming one of the most important players at Arsenal, because he's got the ability and speed to cover at right back, where Ben White will have travelled, and then also cover at left back when Alexander Zinchenko and Gabriel need his help as well. So these are two teams that have the best managers when it comes to tactical tinkering. They've got a lot when it comes to tactical tinkering. They will go into the smallest details. They will go into the nitty-gritties. Mikel Arteta once said that Arsenal had played over 70 different formations in one game. That was against Monaco in the Emirates Cup. Arsenal played over 70 different formations in one game. So when you talk about tactical tinkering, you understand what I'm talking about. So those are the key areas, wide areas, and also the midfield, right? So how do we beat Manchester City with this? How do we, in the end, how do we get the better of Manchester City, and how do we actually become victorious in this game? We've not done it for 12 games, and this could be our chance, right? This could be our chance. So let's get into it. Man City will be without Lodri. And so I will eliminate Lodri, and I'll put shot number 12 to represent Calvin Phillips. So without Lodri in this game, Man City are not as good as they can be, and are not as good as they should be. They will not be as good as they should be. And this is a massive opportunity. This is a massive chance for Arsenal to take care of this midfield. And that's why I've suggested Declan Rice and Thomas Partey, because literally what this means is that when Gabriel Jesus is pressing the two defenders, or the two centre backs, Calvin Phillips will be the outlet to try to release or relieve pressure from the centre-backs. That is where you have Declan Rice closing, and you have Thomas Partey closing as well. It's one of the areas of the pitch, as one of the batters that Arsenal will have to win if you're going to win this game. The midfield. They don't have Lodri. They always love to play out from the back, and they love to always have that consistent player that can be trusted. And that player is Lodri. He is on a red card. So if Arsenal want to win this game, there are no two ways about it. We have got to cancel their midfield. We've got to be better than them in midfield. Partey and Rice can do that. Partey and Rice are enough minerals and enough resources to see that we can actually go through that period of time very, very well in that game. So that is the first way you beat Manchester City. That's the first way we beat Manchester City. Can we exploit their midfield inequality? Can we exploit their lack of quality in the midfield? And one of the ways we've got to do that is don't allow them to play out from the back. Don't allow them do that. The moment Calvin Phillips is on the ball, Rice should be closing him down. The moment he's in possession, Declan Rice should be trying to block all the passing lanes. And of course, the likes of Odegaard as well. You try to block all the passing lanes because we know he's not calm and he's not cool in possession as compared to Lodri. So if you can close him down, use that kind of high press that Newcastle were using against PSG, we might actually get something very important and very good in this game. But of course, Pep Guardiola will know that Arsenal will target his midfield, and Arsenal, and I think it's something that Pep will work on. And also Mikel Arteta, the brilliance of Mikel, I don't expect him to go fully embarking on exploiting the midfield of Manchester City. I don't think that's what we're going to do the whole evening. We'll try to do it, but what if it doesn't work? So the second plan on how to beat Man City and how to actually score goals out of them or get goals out of them is using our wide players. And of course, the one thing you've seen when we played City is Saka's always taken on Nathan Ake, and Martinelli, who is not available, has already taken on Kyle Walker. And Arsenal have never had any kind of success when Saka takes on Ake and Trossard takes on, or Trossard or Martinelli takes on Kyle Walker. So these two battles are going to be very key for Arsenal. You've got to come out on top of these battles. You've got to be the better side when it comes to the 1v1s in the wide areas. Otherwise, if we don't get on top of them, Man City will beat us. This is why. So if you have Saka failing against Nathan Ake, it means that Ake will have time to come on the opposite direction and go face to face with Benjamin White. And that also means that because they have Jack Grealish in these areas, they will be able to overload this area and they'll be able to create an overload against Benjamin White. That is if Saka is beaten in this game. So what Saka and Arsenal have to do is simple. Jack Grealish will be coming back to form an overload against Saka, right? So what we need to do is we need to allow Odegaard to overload, to overload this area, to cancel out Jack Grealish. So you have Odegaard, Saka against Josko Gvardiol or Nathan Ake against Jack Grealish. Then we will have to allow one more player, and Gabriel Jesus, hell, this is why we signed you. It's time for you to work. So Gabriel Jesus then becomes the one outlet, or becomes the other player that comes into and drops into this kind of cocoon space, spacing to actually create the overload. What that will do, it will push a couple of Manchester City players. This could be Diaz or this could be Akanji into this space, and it will create a couple of spaces within this area. And of course, Trossard can run into them. We have Declan Rice can run into these spaces as well, and we can create some beautiful chances. So the wide areas are going to be key, especially on Trossard and Saka's side, right? I've just shown you how important, beating Ake and beating Josko Gvardiol is going to be. It's the same on the right-hand side. It's the same on the left-hand side. The way you see Saka and how important it's going to be in this game, it's the same thing with it's the same thing with Leandro Trossard. If Trossard can beat Kyle Walker by himself, which is actually very difficult, it will be nice. But because you cannot beat him, it means that Declan Rice will have to shift over. Alexander Zinchenko will have to shift over as well to create those kind of overloads and also stop Kyle Walker from inverting into midfield and come into these areas around here. So that is one way. That's actually the second way of how to deal with Manchester City. The wide areas have got to be taken care of, and the wide areas have got to be very, very well. Now, defensively, right? Of course, we'll talk about the taking of chances, but we've talked about the chance creation. Our chances are going to really come from the wide areas. So, defensively, Ben White is not a match for Jack Grealish. Even Jeremy Doku, he's not a match for them. They will cancel him out, right? So I don't think Ben White should be left alone against either of the two. That's Jeremy Doku or Jack Grealish. So what we've got to do is Saka's got to come back and track back effectively, but also Partey has got to come and help out in these situations when he can. Because when Grealish emerges with the ball, he gets into the penalty area. We don't want that. We absolutely don't want that. So that's one of the things. That's one of the tactics that they will be looking to employ, especially Pep Guardiola being the brilliant guy he is. Of course, it's the same thing with Alexander Zinchenko. They'll try to exploit this space. They'll try to exploit him. They know he's not good defensively, so they will put a player who can actually exploit him. They could put a combination of Bernardo Silva around here with probably with Matthias Nunes, and that means that Ben White. That means that Bernardo Silva can take on Zinchenko 1v1, and we know he can beat him. But then they can pass their way around him, and we know he actually struggles with that. So we've got to take care of the defensive part in wide areas. We've got to actually be very, very astute. And now the key batters defensively for us are going to be Erling Haaland versus William Saliba. He's got to take care of him. Now he can bully him. We know he can, right? But he's got to take care of him. You cannot allow him to, create spaces. You cannot allow him to bully you. You cannot allow him to, get free headers because he scores every type of a goal. That is one. The second one, and I think this one is going to be very key, it's going to be Julian Alvarez. I labeled him shot number 10 against Gabriel Magalhaes. So with Julian Alvarez, you have the most informed player in the Premier League, and then you've got the most informed player at Manchester City. He's going to be a problem for us. He will be a problem. So what Arsenal have got to do and what we have to do is to make sure that Julian Alvarez does not have that connection between him and Erling Haaland. If we can do that, I certainly believe Arsenal can win this game. And best of luck. I'll see you right in the match build-up as we talk through who starts, who will have dropped, and the final team news.